It's Tuesday. I'm still paying for it. My desk is covered. And I know how you guys each understand how that is. It's Tuesday. I'm still paying for it. My desk is covered. And I know how you guys each understand how that is.
That's feedback.
So that sound, can you hear me okay?
It's Tuesday. I'm still paying for it. My desk is covered. I know how you guys each understand how that is.
Claudia?
We're working on it.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay? It's Tuesday. I'm still paying for it. My desk is covered. I know how you guys each understand how that is.
Just give us a minute. We're getting an echo chamber.
Claudia?
Working on it.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? It's Tuesday. I'm still paying for it. My desk is covered.
Give us a minute.
Working on it. Okay. Can you hear me
Pay attention?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't find where it was. I had to put multiple.
This is somebody's other people's screen.
We can do one at a time.
All right.
Can we?
Let him go. All right. Oh, hey.
But Mike, how am I going to share my screen? You're still okay. We just did not, oh, he's sharing it again.
Just disable sharing for now once you can share. Okay.
Okay, we're live and we're recording, so we're good to go.
Just for the record, I heard myself no less than 7 times say the same thing. I only said it once. That was kind of odd. Dave, good morning.
Good morning.
And I am not seeing Virginia on yet. However, here, as I said that, I think she's entering in. Marcia, when you're ready, you can go ahead and start roll call.
All right. Mr. Lewis,
Ravenna Township present.
Mr. Childers,
Southern Portage County, present.
Mr. Ginn,
Middle Portage County, present.
Mr. Markey,
Justin Markey, Retzel and Andrus.
Samarine,
Claudia Amrine, PARTA.
Marcia Fletcher, PARTA, Miss Baba, Miss Jurish,
Kelly Jurish, PARTA.
Mr. Popick,
Clayton Popick, PARTA.
Miss Schrader,
Rebecca Schrader, PARTA.
Mr. Troutman,
Brian Troutman, PARTA.
Miss Harris. It looks like she's still connecting to audio.
All right, well, we will show her as present as soon as we can hear her. So thank you, Marcia, for that. Moving on to number 2, guest communications. Due to COVID-19, at this point, we're still not required to do that. That was, there we go. Going to change. Now that we're ready with the microphone by the most important person at this moment, Rebecca, do you have any old news, old business?
I have no old business.
All right, then we'll go right into new business with all the reports. If you'll please give the PARTA and Gateway reports for April.
You go. Okay, can you guys all see the screen?
I can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. We're looking at the April finance reports. Overall, they were good with minimal surprises. Just going down through the lines for revenues, our ticket sales, our agency cash grants, they were above the monthly budget. KSU revenues has decreased below the monthly budget. Again, that is just a timing thing as April. We will just have to monitor that. That is divided by 12, I believe, just 12 even months. So, but that is below budget for this year, but almost on budget for the year at $11,000 under for the year. We still have not drawn down any state or federal capital maintenance assistance. That was a big push for this week, and we plan to start doing draws at the beginning of June. So in May, you also will see the same thing, but hopefully in June, you will see those draws start to occur. We have active executed grants. It's just a timing thing between the audit and the triennial review. There just wasn't time to work on that. Plus, I'm still a person short in the accounting department. So let's see. So investment income was low. Sales tax revenues continues to, on the whole, be above. For this month, it was $23,000 under, but for the year, it's $145,000 above the monthly budget. For April, I'm seeing that we're actually 11% higher for the year for this time versus last year. So our sales tax is doing well, and other revenues was as expected. So expenses, we are below budget on all of our wages, and fringe benefits just a little bit over budget, but combining those together, we are at 29.9% of the budget, which is under budget. Professional service, technical services, we were slightly over budget this year. As I mentioned, we are going through the state financial audit. I have been invoiced for their services up till now. So that is why it's currently above the budget, but that is a timing issue. Other services is slightly above budget. Fuel is under budget. You can see through these line items. Other materials and supplies are slightly over budget, but for the year, they're under budget by $13,900. We have our quarterly invoice for our premium public liability, or OTRIP. And so for the month, we had, in April, it's important to know that we had 3 payrolls this month. So you can see we did have a deficit of $308,000 for the month, primarily because of the 3 paydays and that we haven't started doing the drawdowns for the preventative maintenance. Any questions on the finance report?
Real quick,
Sure.
you said mainly because of the 3 paydays. What number, what in the expenses are you referring to? Because those are on budget.
They're on the monthly budget because I budgeted for 3 paydays, but when you look at the monthly deficit of revenues versus expenses, we are $308,000 below.
Okay, but the budget is also 222.
Correct.
Okay. And you do, and I know I've asked this before and I apologize, but you do straight line budgeting on all items, correct?
That is not correct.
That is not correct. So you, by the different category, such as KSU revenues, you said that you do straight line budgeting and that's why it's below budget.
A lot of the revenues are straight line. The
Okay.
expenses are more, so it's kind of a hybrid. For example, so some of the federal maintenance, I started like not in January, some of it's quarterly, so it's kind of a hybrid of both.
Okay.
If I can accurately project or predict when the revenues are coming in, I will try and base that. But some things I can't. It's just too hard and too much of a guess. I did do that one year for KSU revenues, and I was adjusting the monthly budget every year, and then at the end of the year, it kind of caught up. And so it's better for KSU revenues to keep it at a straight line so we can see where we are at that point in the year. That's why I chose that for KSU revenue. So it depends on the line item. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to the next report is the PARTA capital budget. As I mentioned, there were no drawdowns. I brought over the 308,000 deficit from the operating expenses. No grant revenues. We had two small expenses on the capital report for engineering and design for the two different projects that are going on right now. The build out of the storage facility, which we are out to bid for right now, and we'll be bringing to the board next month. And then the engineering and design for the CDL training pad, which should be going out to bid here in the next week or so, and will come to the board the following month. But we do have some expenses for the A&E services. Any questions on the capital report? Okay, moving on to the statement of net position. Our receivables decreased from March to April. As you can see, the $18,000 of capital expenses in the property, facilities, and equipment section. Our accounts payables have gone up. I believe that there were some prepaids, which is why last month it was a negative. But for this month, we're showing 66,000 at the end of April of outstanding invoices. And I don't see anything else to comment on this report. Any questions? Any questions on PARTA at all? Okay, moving on to the gateway. For the month of April, we had a total of 6,249 cars in the deck. On average, this is 208 cars a day, which was a 7% decrease from last month, but a large increase from last year. So that part is good to know. You can see our line here for 2021 is the screen line. So the trend is actually following prior trend lines, and hopefully we'll get bumped back up to this other group of totals. So looking at year to date, January through April, compared to 20 to 21, we are 4.4% lower than January to April of 2020. But you can see from April of 2020 to April of 2021, there's a huge increase. So things are tracking nicely. And no surprising changes to the bottom three graphs. Okay, moving on to the revenues and expenses. We were slightly lower on the hotel overnight, but we were pretty much right on budget. We're $1,000 low on the monthly parking passes. I've been told that May is looking much better. Our daily was up, so we had more than what we expected. We billed for our quarterly retail revenue and our second floor City of Kent Health Department revenue. And we had a little bit of other revenues. Expenses, pretty much right on budget of what we were expecting. It was a little bit higher on other services. I have that information right here. If you give me one moment so I can pull that out. Let's see. Other services, Johnstone. We had several invoices for them. I think that's HVAC. Brian, Johnstone, do you know? What do you think it is? There were several of them, probably $1, $2, $3, $4, $500 or so. Johnstone.
We did some electrical upgrades to the bike locker area and things along those lines. I'd have to look, see what they are.
For contract maintenance, we had our elevator maintenance that we paid. And then for other services, it's just the normal uniforms and credit card fees and our security. There isn't anything else unusual in the expenses. So for the month, we had a deficit of $25.48, and then for the year, we are pretty much break even at $80. Any questions? Okay, so then the last report is the statement of net position. So last month I mentioned that I had made a mistake and accidentally did a transfer twice. I had forgotten that I had done it. So I corrected that. You can see I moved the $44,000 out of the gateway, hence the decrease in our cash and our bank accounts, but everything else pretty much stayed the same. A little bit more in accounts payable. But on the whole, everything looked really well. So those are my finance reports. Let me know if you have any questions.
Hopefully with activity picking up downtown over the summer, the gateway will continue to have maintain or increase on the activities. That'd be nice. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, let's go back to the Gateway Finance Report A. The $8,000 in revenue, is that billed quarterly? Is that we get 8,000 each quarter then?
That is correct.
And that's for both the health department and the Burbick company?
No, that's just for Burbick. The City of Kent would be the next line item of 2013, the second floor revenue.
Okay, I see. It's pretty obvious when I bother to read it. So, okay.
We still are in the process of finalizing contract documents with the City of Kent and finalizing the Burbick agreement too. But for right now, we have invoiced them at these amounts.
I had an overall question, not with the gateway, more back to PARTA. And I may butcher the initials, but CURSA, we talked about that. But I didn't see that reflected. Are we still waiting on that then, or has that just not been recorded?
So that grant has been executed, and along with the preventative maintenance, we will start to draw that money down too, and it'll be retro back to January. I just need some time to think about that because there's a lot of grant dollars available, and I need to make sure that there's no, it's called double dipping, making sure that I'm taking the same expenses in multiple drawing that same money on multiple expenses, on the same expenses. Because there's state money, there's federal money. On top of the CURSA money, there's also ARM, ARM,
American Rescue.
last initial, the ARP funds, and with the state, it's called continuing immunity. So rides for community immunity. So all of those grants, except the last one, the ARP one, we are in the process of putting that into TRAMS, which is the federal processing database, and we should expect that to be executed probably in 2 months, but we need to draw the CURSA money down before the ARP money. So there's a lot of balls, and I quite haven't thought through what we talked about at the last meeting, where that'll show up on this financial report. I probably will make a new line like I did for CARES.
Probably be an easier way to follow it for us if you had a separate line.
It'll definitely be in a separate account. That's a requirement. And yeah, like I did last year with the CARES, it'll be similar.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, Rebecca. That was great as usual. So good information. Next thing I have on the agenda, we have 3 resolutions to talk about and recommend to the board if we agree. The first one being 2021-0501, a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees authorizing the general manager or her designee to negotiate, enter into, and sign a contract for the production and purchase of urban transit buses, optional equipment, and spare parts with Gillig for 5 years beginning in 2021 through 2026. And I may not have pronounced that correctly, but who would, anybody want to fill us in a little bit on this resolution?
Sure. I'll kind of do an overview, all 3 resolutions.
Do you want me to read the others first or just talk about them and then?
Well, I think it's okay to I'll give an overview and then I'll turn it over to
Perfect.
Brian or Becky to talk about this specific resolution to Gillig, and then we can move on. But just to give it in perspective, we did an RFP, a request for proposals, for a 5-year transit bus and trolley platform bus build with 3 options for the propulsion systems: CNG, clean diesel, and hybrid electric. And we put it out on the street, and we received 2 proposals that were responsive, and went through the process of evaluating those responses and determined that for resolution 01, Gillig, which is a large bus manufacturer, was most responsive and the best value for the production of urban transit buses, what we normally buy, what we have here. And for trolley, the new platform would be Tesco, who is the vendor working with Hometown Trolley. And then the 3rd resolution then authorizes or requests the authority to place an order for 3 trolley buses through Tesco. You might recall we did a resolution, I think in January, where we authorized the purchase of buses, and then because of the delays we've been experiencing on our current bus contract, we decided to go out for a new RFP and delay ordering the buses that we planned to order. I think it was the end of last year, not January, but you passed it and then we rescinded it the next month. So we're catching back up on that. And then at this point, I would turn it over if you have questions, or Brian, if you want to describe Gillig versus, or the value process.
So when we went out to bid, it's not really a bid, but we went out for proposal. The concept that we were shooting for was to acquire a single vendor, if possible, that would be the provider of either or platform with the different propulsion systems over a 5-year period. And these procurements are never easy. They're very time consuming, but it enables us to be able to move forward much quickly once we have the procurement done. In this particular instance, it was an unusual way of doing it during an unusual time. And typically it came out as kind of unusual in the way we decided to award it. Being that the urban bus platform, the best value for PARTA it came out as Gillig simply because Gillig, this is what they do. This is their wheelhouse. They've been doing it since about 1986. We have probably half of our fleet right now is Gillig's. We have a good supply chain set up with Gillig. They have a good supply, fair, I should say. Right now in COVID, we're all struggling with supplying parts. But we're familiar with them. They're familiar with us. They gave us a very good pricing. They gave us a good proposal. They gave us a good timeline for delivery. So they really kind of came out and reached out and tried to secure this contract and gave us a good proposal. However, like everything, you know, it's and I say this all the time, you can be deep or you can be wide, but it's hard to be deep and wide. What we found in this proposal is that Gillig is very good at building urban buses, but what they do offer in regards to a trolley is really just an urban bus with some paint on it. And it's not really a trolley or streetcar built vehicle. However, Hometown is the other way. They specialize specifically in the trolley platform. But both vendors offered us the propulsion systems that we were looking for. So that being said, as it turned out, we found that the trolley offering that we got from Hometown was by far and away what we were looking for in a trolley design as best value for PARTA in the direction we're heading with our trolley program, if you will. And then the Gillig bus, urban bus, offered us the best solution for what we have all known and come to be comfortable with when it comes to a low floor transit bus. So we decided, and it's not unusual in the industry to do it, but we've never done it here, but we chose to award a split contract for urban buses to Gillig and then the trolley buses to Hometown Trolley. So we would kind of get in the best of both worlds, which is really what the whole RFP process is supposed to do, is bring the best value to the table for the organization and allow us to evaluate the proposals and go get the best bang for our buck, which is what we're doing in this situation. So perfect world would have been one vendor providing, you know, the best of both worlds. But I think in this particular proposal, we still ended up with the best value for PARTA by having basically a dual award on this. So I think that pretty much sums it up, but I could take any questions you might have.
So just to add on to that, from a procurement standpoint, we'll have two contracts, and each year, looking at our replacement schedule, we will determine how many buses we need to purchase for that year, decide what kind of buses we want to purchase for that year. If it's trolleys, we would look at the Tesco contract. If it's urban, we would look at the Gillig contract, and then decide what kind of propulsion we would want, whether it is diesel or CNG or hybrid electric, which we haven't done yet, but was part of this procurement and allows for as much flexibility as we can going forward. Which leads to the third resolution. So for 2021, we have decided that, and Brian mentioned it last month, that we would like to try out trolleys, and for the first procurement, order 3 trolleys from Tesco.
All right, thank you for the explanation. I do appreciate that. So the one we started with was the 2021-0501. If there's no other questions, if we can have a motion to recommend this to the board, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff, and a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Virginia. All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
If
Aye.
there's any opposed by this, hearing none, we recommend that 2021-0501 be presented to the board for approval. And 2021-0502, any additional conversation for that? Hearing none, can I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion as well.
Thanks again, Jeff, and a second.
I'll second it.
And Virginia, thank you. All in favor, please signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, 2021-0502 is recommended to the board for approval. And the last being 2021-0503, resolution for the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees authorizing general manager or her designee to negotiate, enter into, and sign a contract for the production and purchase of 3 CNG trolley buses, optional equipment, and spare parts with Tesco. Any further conversation? All right, same thing. If I can have a motion for approval or recommendation. Thank you, Virginia. A second.
I'll second that.
And Jeff, thank you. All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, 2021-0503 is also recommended for approval to the board. All right, thank you for the information behind that. I know the trolleys, what we were able to see last month on the trolleys, I think it was last month, was very interesting. I think they're going to go over well. It's a really good concept. I like it. So any other discussion for the Finance Committee? I was made aware of no executive or need for executive session prior. I'll assume that's the same unless I hear something. And hearing none, I will ask for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Please remember Thursday, the board meeting. I don't think there's administration. I haven't seen anything on that as of yet. And Jeff, again, for those that weren't here at the beginning of the call, Jeff will be covering me on Thursday because I will be out of town without Wi-Fi or basically cell service. So thanks again, Jeff, for that. Everybody have a great day. Sunshine is peeking out. Go enjoy it.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.